This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. Before the French, before fur trading and Woodward Avenue was paved over, even before this space was considered a black city, Detroit and its surrounding areas was taken care of by Native communities. The Anishinaabe Alliance makes up the Three Fires Confederacy. It includes the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi. This land was and remains spiritual. It was a place to gather and hunt, a place to convene with nature and flow with the river, no matter where it led. A new land acknowledgement plaque is being unveiled this weekend at Greenfield Village. It's a step toward visibility, toward truth-telling, and toward honoring a history that too often goes untold. But moments like this are about more than a plaque. They're about the ongoing work of making Indigenous voices seen and heard. Joining us now is Heather Briegel, Curator of Political and Civic Engagement at the Henry Ford, and Travis Schuler, who is Director of Programming for the North American Indian Association of Detroit, an organization preserving culture, uplifting the community, and ensuring Indigenous history in the city is not forgotten. We have Heather and Travis Schuyler. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. I want to say thank you for being here. Now, Heather, we're going to begin with you. For those who may not fully understand, what is a land acknowledgement?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tia. So a land acknowledgement is a statement, in the most simplest terms, it's a statement to honor the land and the people who were on the land prior to whatever is now on that land, so prior to colonization. And it's a way to name those Native nations and to honor them and their history.
And Heather, why is it important that institutions like the Henry Ford make it visible and permanent?
I think it's important because as cultural, historical, and educational institutions, we have a duty to our guests. We have an obligation to our guests to make sure that we are doing good public history. And part of that is acknowledging any institution's past and how we can create more inclusive spacings and telling those histories from the past to the present to the future.
Which is one of the themes of the Henry Ford and Greenfield Village, is making sure that the past doesn't just stay there.
Correct. Yes. We have this motto here at the Henry Ford. It's past forward, and it's how can we utilize and learn from the past in order to move things forward and talk about history in the present and where we see ourselves going.
Now, this plaque recognizes the ancestral lands of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi. Why is it critical to name those nations and their history in a space like Greenfield Village and Henry Ford?
You know, I think when we think of Southeast Michigan, we think of Detroit and the Metro Detroit area and where we are now. And I think we think about the really cool histories that we have of, Motown and Motor City and Henry Ford. And those are all really cool and exciting histories. But we need to go back further, as you mentioned in your intro, the French settling here. But prior to the French settling here, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi people, their presence here was large in Southeast Michigan and across the Great Lakes region. And so I think it's important that we acknowledge those tribal nations. And the Confederacy, like any Confederacy, was an important political entity. And, all tribal nations, including the Three Fires, had their own systems of government and how they interacted with the French or with other tribal nations. And so I think it's very important that we make sure that we are honoring those people and calling them by name, because they're not tribes or people of the past. They are people that are present. Myself as an Oneida person, yes. We're present. We're still here. And so I think it's important that we name groups and nations so that people know that we are in the present.
Yes. And Travis, I want to bring you into the conversation as well, because, why is it so critical that those particular nations, especially when we talk about Southeastern Michigan, Metro Detroit, and Detroit, why they are being honored in this way? Travis, are you there?
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. Sorry, I had you guys muted for a moment. My apologies.
No
Could
worries.
you please repeat the question?
Yeah, of course, Travis. So, this listening to what Heather was talking about and just making sure that the past is not just the past, but we're bringing folks into the present and making sure that we're naming individuals. Why is it so critical to name those nations and their history, especially when we talk about Greenfield Village and the Henry Ford?
That is a great question, and it's similar to what Heather was saying, is to acknowledge these communities that were here before us, the contributions that they did to the land as well too, and then not only is not just the past of who they were, but who we are in the present as people too. We are a thriving community. We have different tribal communities who represent us here as well too. We are 30,000 strong as well, so we're not just in the history books anymore. We're here next to you. We're building the city. We're contributing to the city because this is still our land as well too, and we want to contribute to it. And it's also beneficial because it sees our next generations will see us doing these good things for our people and being recognized. And they will realize as well too, my children, nephews, all of our children will see that we are not relics or artifacts in museums, that we are, again, a thriving community. There is a place for us in the present, and we will be pushing forward for our next generations to do great things as well in the future.
Now, Travis, you're offering the blessing at this ceremony, which is happening this weekend, this Saturday, actually, at Greenfield Village at 9 a.m. What does a moment like this represent spiritually for you and your community?
Well, just a little bit of a correction. I'm not doing the blessing.
Okay.
I am not, in my personal opinion, I am not qualified to do so. I've asked to make some remarks for the opening, but nonetheless, this is a great moment, not only for the Native community in general, but for Heather as well too. Being a Haudenosaunee woman, being a woman just in that position as well too, and being able to opening up the doors for not only herself, but obviously our community as a whole is fantastic. And, she deserves all the praise in the world. But for myself, this is extremely important as well, too, because I get to be a part of something contributing to the betterment of our community and our people as well, too. And back to what I was saying, I want our younger generations and present generations to see all of us trying to do these good things, not only for our people here, but for the betterment of the non-Native community and educating them as well, too, so they can understand history, actual history, and motivate them, our community, to go forward and do bigger and better things that we're accomplishing now.
Travis, why aren't you qualified to do a blessing at the ceremony?
That is just my personal choice. That I feel. There are many more people in the community in Detroit and even outside of the community who are more suited, I guess more, what would be the word? Just qualified in general. They've been here in the communities longer than I have. They've experienced a lot more in this community than I have as well, too, given their age. So they have a better understanding, and they would know what needs to be said at the right time and in the right moments to make this pivotal and more poignant.
Now, Travis, I do want to begin, and talk a little bit about Native peoples today. Oftentimes, because of the image painted onto Native people, it's hard to imagine in a concrete jungle that is Detroit, seeing Indigenous folks walking around. You know what I mean? So how has it been a mission for you over time to make Native peoples visible and present here in the city of Detroit, especially with the work that you do with North American Indian Association of Detroit?
Well, that's one of the things that we're trying to do in the community is all of the stereotypes that might have followed Native people, no matter where they reside. This isn't only something that goes on in the urban areas of Detroit. It goes on all across the United States and Canada, or also known as Turtle Island in general. There's a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes that have followed us for thousands of years, and now I have an opportunity to be part of being able to educate the community here, Native and non-Native, about our people, that we're all different, our different clothings. We're not all the same. Get rid of those caricatures or anything they might have learned along the way as well too. And so again, they can see that we're actual people. We come from places of culture and understanding as well too, what our culture means to us and how we integrate that into our lives as well too. And they don't think that we're all the same.
We also spoke briefly about having a seat at the table, Travis. How does this give you all a permanent seat at the table when we talk about just visibility, especially with the plaque unveiling happening at Greenfield Village this weekend?
So, our Native community, or the organization that I'm employed at, has been here for over 80 years. So we've had a large community here in Detroit for a very long time. And our community has experienced, just like other people of color and even non-people of color, we've experienced bigotry and racism as we've tried to make our way into these cities and try to find our own little place.
Yeah.
So my parents, as long as my peers and cousins, all of our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, family, friends, all of our community has strived really hard to carve out a little area of our own to where we could have a piece of the city, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So with that progression, obviously, and us moving forward as the next generation, trying to move that ahead for what all they've done for us, having a seat at the table is extremely important, because it shows that, again, that we are here. We haven't gone anywhere. We're thriving. We're continuing to try to do the best we can, not only for ourselves and our community, but for the betterment of our city as well, too. And it shines a light, again, as I said, on the Native community, because then people will be more interested to understand who we are as a people and community as well. And it goes back to our next generations. They will see us sitting at these tables. They will see us at these podiums. They will see us in these boardrooms. They will see us doing the great work that Heather has accomplished as well, too. It is all about making sure that everything we're doing is from our past, our community in the past, our parents and grandparents, everything that they've done for us to get us here is not done in vain. And our mission now is to move ahead a little bit more for our next generations. So that's all our community and culture is about, is trying to do the best we possibly can, not only for ourselves, but for the next 7 generations.
This is the Metro. I'm Tia Graham. We're talking about a land acknowledgement ceremony this weekend during Greenfield Village's opening day. My guests are Heather Briegel, curator of political and civic engagement at the Henry Ford, and Travis Schuyler. He's a program director with the North American Indian Association of Detroit. Now, we're going to stick with you for just a little bit longer, Travis. When we last spoke, we were learning more about the powwow happening at Hart Plaza, how it hadn't happened in 30 years. You attended the first one 30 years ago when you were a young boy, and then you attended it and participated. You helped direct it as well last year. Talk about that full circle moment of being at Hart Plaza with the powwow and having all that energy there. I was just a small part of that at a young age with my siblings and cousins. The parade had gone on previously before that. I just know that the last time we had something to that magnitude was over 30 years ago. So when the opportunity presented itself with Councilwoman Gabriela Romero, excuse me, I hope I didn't mess her name up, but when she reached out to us, we saw an opportunity to do something for the community in general, along with our sister organizations here in the Metro Detroit area. And as it slowly started moving forward, it seemed like the opportunity to do something great like that again for our community presented itself. So we ran for it, because we wanted to give something back to our community so they can enjoy it, reminisce about it, remember all of the good times of before as well too. Yeah, and Travis, do you feel the pressure to continue the legacy and pass it along to the next generation?
Oh, that is a good question, and that's a tough one emotionally, because yes, absolutely. As I said before, with everything that our parents and grandparents and all of the community has done before to get us where we are, in my personal opinion, there's a lot of pressure not only on myself, but I feel a lot of people in the community that are my peers or around my age as well too, because we have to move forward or raise the bar, I guess you could say. And we're doing all of this for the betterment of our community, and that's our goal. We want our community to be happy. We want our community to thrive. We want our community to have everything that our parents and grandparents have provided for us to be Native people in the city, but then give more to it. So yeah, in my opinion, for me personally, there's always a lot of pressure.
Heather, do you ever feel pressure to be a representative for your community, or to push it forward and make sure that legacy continues on?
I absolutely feel that
Yeah.
pressure. It's a good pressure, though, I think, to have because, I believe that anything that we do, we're doing with the backing of 1,000 ancestors behind us. And so, you feel that strength and that power. And just, I'm the granddaughter and great-granddaughter of boarding school survivors. And so I always talk about how they survived so I could thrive. And so I take that role and the work that I do in museums or other cultural institutions very seriously because we know that there's not the greatest history between Indigenous communities and cultural institutions, but I have seen in the past decade so many institutions, and mine included, make those leaps and bounds forward to work with tribal communities. And I think that's huge. And so I definitely, feel that pressure to make sure that not only do I continue to do the work, but keep that ladder down so others can follow up after me and continue that work forward.
And Heather, as someone deeply involved with this work, in particular, the unveiling, what does this moment mean to you personally?
That's a great question, Tia. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. I'm very honored and humbled to work at the Henry Ford institution that's almost 100 years old, and this, it's something so big. We haven't done anything like this here before, and to make these strides forward, and for me to be able to be part of it, and to bring in other Indigenous communities and people like Travis along for the ride, that is so humbling, and that makes my heart so full. And I'm so excited for Saturday and to continue. The work doesn't stop Saturday. I feel like it's only just beginning, and so I feel like it's great to be able to be part of this event on Saturday and then continue to see where we go from here and what other cool things we can do here at the Henry Ford. And so I'm humbled and honored to be part of it, and so grateful to the leadership here who has been fully supportive of this initiative and is like, yes, what can we do next? So I'm excited and I'm humbled.
And Heather, what are the limitations of land acknowledgements, and what doors do they open?
Yeah, so I think land acknowledgements, a land acknowledgement only has as many limitations as you put on it. So if you're an institution who has a land acknowledgement and you just, put it on your website and you don't do anything else about it, that's a limitation that you've put on the land acknowledgement. I think what's really important is to look at land acknowledgements as a way to push your institution to do better. And so here, we haven't put limitations on our land acknowledgement. We are saying, here are our words, here's the acknowledgement, but we're going forward and we're doing more. And so here at Henry Ford and Greenfield Village, the sky's the limit. We're going to see what we can do and make this a living, meaningful, and actionable acknowledgement.
Heather Briegel is curator of political and civic engagement at the Henry Ford. Travis Schuyler is program director with the North American Indian Association of Detroit. This Saturday at 9 a.m., before the gates open at Greenfield Village on opening day, a plaque unveiling will take place with both Heather, Travis, as well as the president of the Henry Ford presenting. There will be performers all day and in the artist market in Greenfield Village. Thank you both for joining us on the Metro. Definitely look forward to having you both back.
Thank you so much, Tia.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. You all have a great day.